Hello, welcome to Chit Chat with Ella and Oumou. We are your hosts,
Ella.
and Oumou, and today we are going to be discussing the topic of peace and comfort, and it's around this idea of how one can find peace and comfort within themselves. And that kind of come from our previous episode where we were talking about not really knowing who you are and kind of being okay with that. But then being okay with that comes with feeling comfortable with it and feeling at peace with it. And so that brings the question, how do you find comfort and peace with this idea of not knowing yourself, or maybe
Just
knowing
generally,
slightly or
yeah.
generally slightly?
Yeah, I think it's like kind of in response to the question, like where like there's uncertainty about not knowing yourself, but also just generally like finding comfort and peace.
Yeah.
I think I find comfort and peace. I don't know. It's just something that comes and they come in. I'm just generally saying they come in moments where I don't know. There's just alignment. I don't know if that there's just
Or maybe the question could be, what can you identify like moments or things that you do that
bring
brings
me peace.
Peace.
There's yeah. I think that's okay. That's a better one. I think I talked about it again. Reflecting. Because when you reflect, then you kind of see what does not bring you peace. Those are easily identifiable, like things that like whether things that people do to you, things that you do to others, or just actions that you take in general, or the environment. You know, things like, for example, I know like if I'm in a clean and organized space, I feel like peaceful. I know like if I listen to soothing music, I feel peaceful. I know that if I do things that are not in alignment with my values, I don't feel peaceful. And like, for example, typical example is like when somebody does something to you, and or like something happens and you really want to say what's on your heart, but then you don't say it, and then later you come home and you are ruminating constantly, and it just doesn't bring you peace, and you wish you had said what you had wanted to say. Yeah, but I feel like it's just like things that, like, for example, rolling around in the grass brings me peace. Enjoying, like, just I don't know. It's just people say the small things, but yeah, and I think it's because you are just yourself. I think in spaces where you don't feel like you have to kind of be one way or act a certain way, or whether it's at home or at work or just outside in general. Like, for example, I don't know, just I feel like when I see other people happy, yeah, that also makes me happy. Yeah, just those things. But I think in terms of like practical tools, I feel like it's kind of constantly like observing and noting those things and kind of trying to find more of those in your life, and then removing the things that bring those lack of contentment and like constant distraught. Not that that's not going to happen, because I feel like life is like, you know, as we talk about ups and downs.
Yeah, discomfort is also part
of life, and that's okay. But it's like kind of a striving towards like, okay, these are the things that at least within my grasp I can like kind of work towards to, and also things that causes me to kind of be disoriented, and I feel like those are the ones that are within our control, but like, you know, external things that happen in our life,
yeah, you just control over, so
you just work with what you're given.
Yeah,
kind of.
And for me to kind of bring myself this peace and comfort, I usually try to avoid those uncomfortable moments as much as I can. As we said, you can't have control over how others react or situations that you might find yourself in when you go out in the world, which leads to sometimes people becoming like introvert, for example, like just having that bubble where you know that in my home I have no,
and like when you come, you're like,
exactly, or like making your bed, for example, and coming back to it at night, it's like, oh my god, I don't want to leave this place, it's so comfortable. And yeah, for me, what really brings me comfort is, as you also said, like following my values and principle, like I enjoy helping people, and when I do something for someone and they actually happy, or like
they use the results,
the result, like that brings me the most joy, like the most comfort, the most peace, or whatever, contentment, as whatever you can call it. But then, yeah, it also comes from if it doesn't go well, then I am like,
Yeah.
I didn't do what I need to do, and then, but yeah.
But there are different sources though. I feel like those ones are external. Like for example, when you see someone smiling or like a child happy,
Yes.
those ones you're like, oh.
Yes.
And I feel like maybe we are using the wrong terms because there's joy, there's
And
peace, there's
and
contentment,
yes.
but they're all interdependent.
Exactly.
And they feed into each other.
Exactly. Because
But
things that make me happy makes me, I don't know. Can you say it makes you comfortable?
it makes you content, like it makes you,
Content.
because there's
But
also
yeah.
comfortable, which is like kind of just, I don't even know the definition.
Right.
Yeah, I think we should have
But-
been yeah, but anyway, you know what you
know what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, or feel at peace.
Yeah.
What makes me feel at peace? Not necessarily saying what is on my mind, because as you said, there's that, but there's also sometimes you find yourself in a situation, there's a conversation, and you keep your mouth shut. In the moment, you're like, oh, I should have contributed. But actually, when you go, you're like, oh, thank God. Like, you feel like, okay, good. Or somebody asks me something, because as I say, I'm such a people pleaser. I want to help people. But then the thing that they ask me, I don't necessarily want to do it, or it just will give me too much stress. And I say no, but the saying no also makes me feel bad. So I'm stressed in the moment. But in the long run, I feel at peace that I said no in the first place. Otherwise, it just drags on, because some people they ask for your help. They don't know when to stop. They ask and they ask, and we keep giving. And you're like, oh my God, Oumou, how did you find yourself in this situation? You should have said no in the first place, or you should have, I don't know, give another different response, which isn't like, I will help you anytime you want. Because some people take it literally. So, for example, those situations, or like when I'm feeling pressured by my mom or like my family members to do things, I say no. I'm like, oh, you are being difficult. You're always saying no. But actually, later on, I'm like, this makes me feel at peace, because they will continue dragging on the same thing if I haven't stood my ground. Exactly, standing your ground and making people understand what aligns with you.
Yeah. And it might not necessarily align with other people's expectations of you or their own views of how people are supposed to, I don't know, be in alignment. But a couple of things you said that I thought to it, it's like kind of certain actions that we take that in the moment might not be so peaceful or so, but it's like perhaps it's not peaceful because it doesn't situate well in the external environment or in the context of societal expectations.
Yes.
But then for you, deep inside, you know that it's going to bring you peace, but perhaps you're not necessarily aware of it so completely. It's just like it's an innate response, like where you're talking about the person. You said no within the moment, but kind of awkward, because typically people, like, you would say yes, or people would expect you to say yes. But then you know that if I say yes, in the long run, it's not going to work well for me.
Yeah.
So it requires sometimes to put yourself first.
Yes, and that's why first you kind of have to know who you are, or like your values, your principles. And even if, again, it happened to go against societal norms, it's fine, because my value is my value, and that's what brings me peace, and I'm just gonna stand by it.
Although there's a caveat, I feel like perhaps I don't know if that's like that the things that you want for yourself, at least that's how I think about it, should not take away other people's freedoms and right.
Oh yeah.
And in that sense, I feel like you might want something because, and I think that's a fine line between peace and comfort. I feel like comfort is like, it's good, but it's like, I don't know, it's different. You Google it and put it under. Because peace is like, I feel like innate.
Yes.
It's like
yeah.
And comfort is like,
I like that. I like the non-verbal explanation. And
yeah, like you feel it inside.
But needs to come first so that you can be
But it's like the it's not always. I don't know. I feel like it's. I don't know. It's. I don't know what the word is. It's not like so strong. It's not the. It goes into the peace, but the peace is so foundational that it's not always being fed by the comfort, and the comfort is not the end or be it all. It's like a subset of it, And sometimes the comfort is not like, I feel like you can go through hardship and find peace. You can put yourself through extraneous things and like you'd be like, I did this. Like, and you feel peaceful like with yourself because that's what you were striving for.
Yeah.
So it's not always about comfort that would lead to peace. I feel like there are other channels that lead to peace, and sometimes the focus is on comfort. So like, for example, doing DoorDash all the time. Would that bring you peace? But it's comfortable. It's like it offers comfort. So that's but there was something to talk about as like different sources. I think we're talking about different when you're saying, it's like different channels of peace. Like you're talking about how like sometimes like seeing other people like external thing that brings peace, but also like I feel like there's also an internal one that is not dependent necessarily on the external, and perhaps that ties into like knowing yourself and kind of I don't know, just things that like just when you know that you are in that space or in that mind frame, it's like, okay, I'm peaceful.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is so abstract.
Yeah, it is abstract, but I think it can also be really simple, because how do I define, for me, when I'm talking about this thing makes me at peace, or I like to be in comfortable situation, for example. I like to be in a situation where I don't have to modify my character or my being to match the situation. That makes me uncomfortable. So it doesn't mean like I want to go and sit fair and not do anything. But I mean, I want to be there where
you don't feel like you are pretending, or you are you are kind of doing too much or
too little,
just because like it's like to fit into and that takes away your peace and
comfort. Exactly.
Because that it chips away, and I think it's like the comfort fits in. So it's not like it's wrong, like the comfort is wrong. Is that it's like one way. It's not the only way. And sometimes, because I feel like also, and I think they have some bias, I feel like our current certain time, at least here in the country that we are based, there's a lot of comfort that we are afforded. In certain instances, right? I talk about DoorDash. I talk about like other things. Like, for example, we have so much.
I guess you can call it privileges that we have. But me, I'm talking more like comfort, like really on the personal level.
On the personal level, okay.
Which I call like uncomfortable situation, or like it's not, and that doesn't mean you meet somebody at the first time and it's awkward or something. You know, you meet somebody and it's like, the conversation is. You have to, I don't know.
You're forcing yourself.
Exactly, you're forcing yourself.
Smiling.
Exactly. So, like, really, the word pretending, I think that makes me really uncomfortable, and I always try to avoid those type of situations.
There's a alignment. Like, when you're talking about this, makes me think of the author that I was talking about, Martha Beck, and how she talks about like just being in alignment, and some of that could be like honesty.
Exactly.
Where like you have to be honest. Like, okay, this thing, I don't feel this way about it.
Yes.
This conversation is like it's not floating in my alley. So
exactly.
And the other things, like just saying no because like you know it does not sit right with you. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why I don't know. What do you think about you always try to see two side of thing, and
I know that's how I exist most times.
But it's more like for somebody like me who likes like always or most of the time or strive to be always comfortable. I don't necessarily like this idea of go outside of your comfort zone. I mean, I get the idea, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, do you have to push yourself? I mean, if you find yourself in this situation, okay, but do you have to push yourself to get out of your comfort zone? But to what end, for example?
I think it's how it's framed that makes it so it rubs the wrong way in certain ways. Because I feel like, as you said, comfort is not bad. I think it's more about pursuing experiences that would then help like feed. It's like when you pursue experiences, it add more data into like your plethora of like experiences that you've built upon to kind of view the world, your perspective, the things like I feel like it's like kind of the things you've touched in the world. It kind of like informs who you are. So, but then if you don't continue to touch more things, you're kind of stuck in this space.
Yes.
And I think so. It's not. I feel like how they put it makes it feel like like having the peace of mind that comes with comfort, that kind of comfort that you described, is kind of like not good. But I think if you look at it like, I'm opening myself up to experiences and to people and to data that would allow me, that it just brings in new things that would allow you to like reflect more about yourself, to kind of see yourself, and I feel like that's how we talk about like evolving and growing and the self. I feel like if you're not kind of exploring and kind of synthesizing and adding in more things. You are, it's just there.
Yeah.
Like, for example,
That's true.
we talk about how people lose their memories and like they're complete different people. And I feel like that's how, like, kind of thinking about it. And I feel like because also those experiences, if they were kind of siphoned from like one, whatever, geography, one channel or something like that, news source, educational source, it just creates, it informs you as a person. But then if you open wide and welcome in other ones, then you kind of have like other things you can kind of compare and contrast. And that makes it difficult because as we talk about having that kind of so ingrained experiences and views that kind of inform who you are now, it makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel certain.
Exactly.
It makes you feel like you know, oh, okay, this is it. This is the life I've lived. This is the things I know. Or like these are the ideologies that I stand by. But then if you are willing and genuinely open and welcome, that's why, like, as I said, like, it makes you realize, okay. Like we're talking about, I think in our last episode, we're talking about cultures and stuff like that, and how, like, if you grew up in different cultures, you're like, okay, this is the culture I grew up in, this is the other one, okay. So then how do I want things to be for me? Or how do I want, and I think that makes it a bit different because it doesn't wrap the rules. It's like, oh, go and, like, but I think the reason for that is because the conversations is like we have to have difficult conversations. You have to like kind of push yourself to go out, and I think it comes back to like what I was talking about in terms of what that comfort means. Where like you feel comfortable in like kind of where you are, that you are not willing to like kind of go out, and it just I think it takes away from, at least from my perspective, away from the experience. And me saying this, like, there are certain things I want to do, like like learning how to float in water or whatever. What is it called? Where you kick your leg but you don't sink.
Floating,
Floating, and I'm scared. And when I go into the 4 feet. I don't go any further.
Just standing.
just standing. And once they didn't tell me, I went in and it was wahala. The lifeguard came to the lifeguard couldn't take their eyes off me.
Oh my god.
But so I feel like
I can see
it's
that.
cool to see it and to understand it, but the living is the hard one, and I think you have to like kind of force yourself, because I think also as humans we like, and I shouldn't generalize, but I think, at least from my perspective, when you have established stability and certainty in certain things, it's very you're okay. Why do you need to go out and do other things? But I think because we are such diverse creatures with different experiences and views and trying to exist on this earth, it behooves us to want to like kind of be open to like exploring other ideas and other experiences, and kind of welcoming those to kind of see, okay, now I think I understand a bit, I understand you a bit, or I kind of see this a bit, or those information can really do modify like how we view the world. And I feel like that's I don't know, has that helped you?
It has, because of course, as I said, it's nice to, discomfort is also part of living.
Yes, and also
it's what then tells you what makes you comfortable.
Yes, and also that suffering is also like inevitable. Which is like the worst of discomfort.
Exactly, and that all in general is like everything has its opposite. For my god,
yin
this
and
is yin and yang. But this just reminded me of physics that we were doing today, but I think it's connected.
Newton's third law. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction.
Yes, and they kind of live together, but more the yin and yang.
The yin and yang.
Yeah, because there's suffering and there is a peace.
Although it's not like
it doesn't
I welcome suffering.
No. As I always say, either you look for problems or not, they will
come to you. So don't go and look for it so much, unless you enjoy doing that.
They will come, but it's just then how you go through them that's important to learn those skills, because being happy we don't have to necessarily, I don't think unless somebody will really need to learn how to be happy, I don't think we necessarily learn tools to be happy. Do we? No. Like, I think happiness,
I feel like there's a lot of literature that is coming out, because I feel like I don't know,
so
sometimes
like,
if you don't get it as a child, it's very hard to kind of navigate. At least I'm just saying this is it's just like saying things.
Because I was just thinking that the good ones are usually like a good one. Happiness, for example, it's just there, because sometimes I can be really sad, but when something suddenly makes me happy, happiness comes. I don't think about it. Like,
it's not like you put in the effort. Yeah, perhaps a handful of, perhaps a small percentage of us who might who happiness might be elusive. And they go through certain things, like where it's like a constant cycle, a constant battle, like people who are depressed and stuff like that. But I kind of get what you're saying. It's not like that. It's not like it's something that you strive so hard to get. Is what you're saying. Yeah, but then on the other side is it's like when you get in it, it's a striving to get out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to learn. You have to get tools to get out of it.
But the other one, it's not like you put in so much energy to kind of.
Unless they say shopping therapy. People do those kind of therapy. Go to shopping and it makes them happy. I guess that's a tool to get out of being sad.
Yeah.
I mean, or food or whatever.
Cheesecake.
Or ice cream.
Ice cream.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think this thing gets abstracted.
I mean, honestly, I think if you make anything can be
abstract, exactly.
Like really.
I'm a mathematician.
Like really.
It's abstracted.
If you want to make your simple name abstract, we can make it abstract. So
yeah, but we have to like kind of.
And that's why we're having this conversation. Even we that we are talking about it, it's not like we apply to it like that. We are still learning.
We are still learning,
and just talking about it really helps. Honestly, at least me having these podcasts or just having our conversations like last night, maybe not in the moment, but later on,
as
the brain goes back to it, and then it's like, okay, I see, I should do this, I should do that. Yeah. And so we really hope that our podcast brings that to you. Although we are rumbling sometimes.
We want to like just keep it free spirited.
Exactly.
Kind of keep it.
No scripted.
Just. I don't know, sharing our thoughts, and sometimes, again, our thoughts can modify as we go on in life, and things can change, and at the stage and moment now, these are some of the ways that we view these big abstract concepts and learning how to navigate it as young adults.
Exactly, which is the whole idea of our podcast. Navigating this adulthood.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your time and attention with us. And
hope to see you back soon in another episode.
Bye. Cheers.